to meet all of you. I met Dharmendra about 3 years ago, and at that point I think he was talking about starting something which was a Trainers Expo. And at that time I was saying, yeah, it's a good thing to start. And today when I see so many people of you here, it really makes me believe that what he dreamt of at that point, now with Rishi along with him, has resulted in so many of you coming here today. So while I'm an HR person today, I've always been around people who've been building content. We are an e-learning company, and I've headed multiple e-learning businesses. But so how many of you are here for training talks or whatever? I mean, why are you here?
To get different perspective on the training as a concept and subject.
Okay.
Because I've heard and probably attended so much that it's an overdose of information.
Okay. Have you tried training yourself?
Yes. Facilitated.
And so what would be your best memories of good training?
Somebody would get a smile on my face towards the end of the day.
Then you could go to Campus Comedy Club.
I think it's the first connect with whatever you are going to speak with the person. There is the first connect.
Okay.
There is a spark. Is you are successful on that.
Okay. And how many of you had your training programs cancelled because of the budgets? That's a typical thing. We cancel training budgets. You've probably heard this. It's attributed to Henry Ford. Basically, it says that if you don't train somebody, or rather, if you train somebody and they leave, then that is worse, right? But what is worse is if they stay and you're not training them properly. It's probably that is the differentiator between why you should train and why you should not. I have an anecdote. I'm not going to take too much time. It's an anecdote. How many of you drive? How many of you learned driving, tried learning, given up? I'm going to talk about someone who trained me. I'm just a little shy of 40,000 kilometers now. That's not too much for a lot of people, but I started late. Let me put it that way. Tried 10 years ago, and then I met this person, a trainer, not your standard driving class guy. This guy who's a professional. His name is Ram, so he came with this strange expertise, and I think that's very key for a trainer to identify who you are and to really know in that specific field and why is it you're calling. So he called himself the specialist for ladies. Okay. Can you guess why?
The bad driving.
Because in typical driving school instructors, they don't treat women equally. There is this bias. Right? Anybody agree? Doesn't agree?
All agree.
So he has this drill. So he comes in and he says, he kind of, pretty much charges you about 3 times what your driving school guy charges. Driving school guy probably charges $1,000 and this guy charges 3,000, 2,500. Then you're wondering why? What's it? But what he's saying is, if after 7 days you're not I will pay you the money back. Have you heard any such driving school person?
No.
And he says, no 30-minute thing every day morning. It's 3 hours. You're taking 3 hours of your day, every day, and he's going to make you work. So that's how I did. So I've tried 2 driving schools before. Didn't have the guts to actually forget taking out the car, even looking at it. I said, it's not working. First day, he gets you the car, and then he's saying, okay, clutch brake, clutch brake, clutch brake, clutch brake. That's it. 3 hours. You get through any traffic jam in any part of the world. I'm done. So by that time, what's typically called muscle memory, right? You're so used to getting your leg movement in sync. And the second day, so you're pretty much okay. He's sitting next to you. Remember, this is your car. I didn't tell you that. This is your car, there is no control on the left hand side.
Oh.
Right? Secondly, now he's trying to teach you U-turns. So he'll take you to this one place somewhere in your locality where he's probably done his recce and got there. And he's kind of telling you, okay, go around. So he's sitting next to you, he's going down, and you're starting to develop a bit of confidence. And he says, okay, stop the car. Stop the car. Opens the door, he walks out. Okay, drive. And I looked at him. What? Yeah, drive the car. I won't stand here. So I said, okay. You're still trying to pretend that you've gained some confidence, start driving. After some time, you will find, so he says, be careful, you know what you did yesterday, clutch brake, clutch brake, clutch brake. Right? So that's your drill. You've done that 3 rounds. After some time, you find somebody just walks in front of you. You drive it. He just walks in front of you, and you stop. He's pretty much put his life at stake to teach you to drive. Okay, so that's day 2. So now, and he does this off and on, off and on. And he has this phrase that he keeps saying of people who jaywalk or amble on across and crossroads. This kala hai. And it kind of sticks to you. And I learned about 3 years ago, and it's every time I narrate this to anybody, it just makes me feel better that there is somebody out there who made such a lasting impression on me. So 3rd day, I'm not going to take it to the by the time I get to the 5th day, I've learned driving. So, and I'm still in my locality, in my comfort zone. I know general traffic, how much there is in my area. And the 3rd day he says, okay, chalo thoda speed mein jana chalo. So I stay in Gangoly East. Okay. And how many of you familiar with In Orbit? Yeah. So there's this road at the back of In Orbit, if you know. That's generally the place where it's used for 2 things. You're going out with your partners and you're going out driving. There's only 2 things that place is well known for. And it's like obviously the shortcut to the SP road. So he goes around again, he does this. So I says, okay. And he says, chalo. I said, chalo. I've never gone on a highway. And that's my first, on the 3rd day, I'm on the highway. Crossing across east-west, which is, how difficult an east-west scenario is in Mumbai. By that time, and remember the last 2 times I did in a driving school, I hadn't taken the car beyond 20 kilometers an hour. 3rd day, he's got me to 60. And I'm like, that's like a speed kick, typically you get after, you started to get the wheels again. And to me that is a trainer, and you realize why you're paying somebody that money, why you're paying that premium. You're paying a premium because it stays with you. It's not something that is, trained, like that's on your LinkedIn profile, I've done this certification. I know, I bet you, I'll come and ask you what did you learn, and you're probably not able to narrate what you learned on day 1 and what you learned on day 1. And I think that is probably very critical for us, when you look at training, not just as something that you go to learn from, but more as, even if you want to become a trainer yourself, what are you willing to give it to become a good trainer? What are you, looking at to get from a good trainer? What's that lasting impression that you want to go with? Yes.
Everybody cannot be trained at the same pace.
Yes, I agree.
So does he choose his subjects? He'd say, I'll not train him, but I'll train her.
So okay. So you mean this my trainer?
Teacher.
Yeah. So I took some. So he avoids men. Somebody's. I took 4 months to get an appointment. My wife got it in like 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks she learned before me. And he carries 4 phones. But he does. I mean, he chooses it. Like he's very clear. His purpose is first to ensure that the women he trains are confident enough to go onto the road. No bias here, please, but that's the perception that we end up creating, right? Bad drivers.
Generally,
The general perception is.
Yes, and he breaks that perception.
Well, it's very hard. Like very few women do reverse parking, which is the right way of parking.
Yes, I agree.
Now, it is also said that for the same maneuver, a lady driver may take maybe 3 times more backs and forths before she can fix it in.
I agree.
Now, how would he teach her to do it in 2 moves rather than the 7 moves that he does?
So he's not just giving you these, okay, do this drill and practice, kind of drilling it in. He's giving you tips. So for example, you take a right turn. Okay, how are you taking a right turn on a turn, right? You are looking at your shoulder. How many driving instructors have ever told you that your shoulder is your hook? Nobody tells you that. Chalo, drive. That's how it is. So he's giving you those skills that you can be pretty much whoever you are. You can be a very good driver, you can be a bad driver, but he's giving you those key tips that are going to be useful for you when you're doing those. And I've spoken with a lot of people who probably started driving before me. And when I tell them this is sport, nobody told me this. That is critical. Yes, there are people who have not learned it the right way versus learning it the right way. And that's where the difference is. And that's what a good trainer gets you. You pay a premium for that. You don't pay a premium for just going and attending a session where you're not left with anything behind. So I think that's where it is. And you know how things are changing. Jobs that were there 10 years ago and jobs that are there today, they weren't there 10 years ago. But there are a few things that, for me, as an HR professional, as a training person or whatever, being in the learning industry, good trainers is going to be something that's going to be very critical for us to kind of. So if you want to kind of look at it as a profession, it's a good place to be, provided you found your path. So I have nothing else to add, and thank you very much for inviting me, Dharmendra and Rishi, and a pleasure.
One more question.
Yes.
How do you recognize a good trainer? Because the same code is offered by half a dozen people.
Yes, I completely agree. So obviously I know the intent of today's seminar is for Rishi and Dharmendra to prove exactly that they're good trainers. Or you get to know from people. Today's world is about recommendations. You look at anything, the first thing that you will do if you're buying something online or whatever, you're looking for recommendations. How many stars does this thing have? Of course, we don't have trainers who have stars. We do, I'm sure. But that's important. What recommendations? And I got a recommendation from, obviously my wife learned, so that for me was good enough. But she learned because her friend who has never driven learned overnight.
So here, my question to you is, what you were trying to suggest is that the speed of the time that you invest, because even a 30-day traditional school, for years on years, people have learned it. Women have learned in the past. Yeah. This is new guy who's done something within a short period. It's created new. Are you trying to say innovation is the only way to present yourself in a better way? Or
see, it is not.
That's how you are recommending it.
Not just innovation. It is how in depth you are an authority on that particular subject.
Okay.
Right? I could just walk out and go, can I do the same thing? Can I go out and do exactly the same thing? I can narrate the entire piece too. But can I do the same thing? Probably not, because I haven't done as much as that person has done. I have not experienced as many people next to me putting my life at stake in his part. And that is what is important. You will need to the typical, I don't know how many of you read all bias. I have not so the key is that to become an expert, you have to invest at least 10,000 hours in your life of training to become an expert. And that's how the so-called whatever you call in fact, that's the part of it.
Very, very